right, welcome back. So today we're on my Infraction V2 because yesterday it got cut short because it wouldn't engage. I feel something's going on with the ESC, not exactly sure what. Also was having a fan issue, which we're going to solve today because I'm going to cut out all the connectors and get rid of every connection there is on the fan. The fan's going to be hardwired to the voltage regulator because it just doesn't need all these darn connections. So first thing I'm going to do is get rid of these zip ties, and the reason I have all these zip ties on it is to stop this problem from happening. I have them on every connector so that the connectors wouldn't vibrate loose, and it's been doing okay up until yesterday when the fan stopped working. Well, the fan was intermittent and would come on and go off and come on and go off, and literally to where this thing kept shutting down. And this problem could have been happening for a while. It just wasn't as hot as it is in California right now. But look at all these connections. So this is the first problem. So here's the adapters Game Changer makes. And what's going on is every one of these connections here where the fans go in, see, you got the dual fans that are going in there, you got the single fan that's coming in over here, then you got the voltage regulator output to the switch. Look how long this stuff is, right? This is longer than the RC. And then you still have all this stuff. So by the time you do all this, it leaves 1, 2, 3, 4 failure points on this, let alone the switch, which could be considered a 5th failure point. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 failure points for bad contact. And these connectors, which are these balance plugs, they snap in. So you normally don't have the issue there or even here on the balance point because these lock in, right? So they're impact proof. This doesn't lock in. They just slip in and out. And that's where I've noticed the problem, the failure point is. As you've noticed, the dual fans continue to run, and the single fan, which is right here, failed. So it's just not worth all that, and I've learned that. So that's why I don't run on and off switches. I literally will take the end, cut this off. I will cut these connectors off and I'll solder this all together so that this plugs directly into this, and that's it. I'm done. I have one connection. And if the fans stop, all the fans are going to stop. And then I'll hear that the fans aren't on, and then I can check it. So, but when you have one fan that's staying on and one fan that's not staying on, it's hard to tell if the fans are going or not. And then this pack is specifically for your I run it just for the body fan, just to get air in. So honestly, I don't even need that. I can hardwire that to a plug to the voltage regulator and run that fan, which I might do so that I don't have to run another battery in here. Since I'm going to cut all this off and solder all this stuff together, I might just go ahead and do that and set up a plug, kind of like I have for the lights right here. I plug in the lights right to this. I might do that for the fan on the body. But That brings me over to this point. I wanted to check where the battery's coming in, because there's a couple of things. One is I was running a Spectrum battery and I wasn't getting the signal here. And I have a feeling that I've got a problem with this single wire. With this, with the fans going, I couldn't hear any of the beeps. Gonna get our remote turned on. We're gonna power this on. As you see, I got no beeps coming from the ESC. Nothing. I've got a green light that's blinking. But I got no beeps saying that it's engaged. So, we're going to go ahead and check the receiver, because I have steering. I have everything but the beeps coming out of this, which is quite concerning. So that's telling me most likely this ESC has failed. So, in here, I've got the solid light on the receiver, which means the receiver is connected. So I want to show you. Hopefully you guys can see it. Right in here will be the light. See how it goes green and it's just flashing green, a steady flashing green light. And because it's sideways, it's not going to arm, so the receiver's not going to turn on. You got to wait for that receiver. There you go. See how that armed? So that's telling me that the gyro knows that it's not on its side anymore, and yet we're still flashing green, and we still don't have any beeps out of this ESC. There's no fuse or anything for it. So what the heck is going on with this ESC? Literally no signs of why it failed. So this is going to undo the ESC, but the wire goes underneath the bracket. Could it be this wire? So I'm going to take out that holder so that we can get ESC unplugged. Now I've got the ESC. Let's get the battery unplugged now, because everything's powered up. I'm going to get this unplugged. For me, it's looking like just a straight ESC failure. Capacitors here are not blowing. The capacitors here, if there was a voltage problem, these caps would have popped, and they didn't pop. Or this cap pack would have blown the lids out of these external cap pack. We're not having that either. It doesn't smell funny, doesn't smell burnt. Something just failed on the inside of this thing. And this is, what is this? So here we go. This is a Arrma 150 amp smart brushless ESC. Not too smart, in my opinion. It's not the first one I've had go bad, I've had them bad right out of the box, but I'm gonna check to see if I have another factory one. I don't think I do. I might, but I'm gonna look for another factory ESC, because this RC I try to keep all factory. This is my basher. I want it all factory. But do I have to upgrade the system? I might have to at this point. Sucks that the ESC failed. We'll be right back. All right. So I've been through all the ESCs I have. I have 160 amp ESC Spectrum. It's a takeoff 8S ESC. And I don't even know why I took this ESC off. I could have just replaced it, or it could have had an issue. I don't see the fan blade broken, because that's normally what happens to these things. The fan blades go out. But this might work. Problem is, this is 150 amp ESC, and you can see the size difference. It's huge. The big problem is the wiring. 150 amp ESC, you see how small the wires are. 160 amp ESC 8S. Now, I still only plan on running this on 6S, so I was like, well, let me see what else I have. So I do have a Mamba Monster X 6S system. Problem is, you can see Castle still the big connectors, which this motor doesn't have that. Plus, it doesn't have enough wire to reach to this. So I'd have to make adapters for it. So that's not going to work. Now, I do have this, which I want to say this is a 150 amp Red Cat ESC, possibly. Looks like it's got the Red Cat logo on it. Don't even know where I got this from. But it was taken out for a reason, probably because I upgraded it. So, not sure. But the mounting, the wires would work, but I have a feeling this is going to be underrated. Just by looking at it, the fan size, everything, I don't know. I think my best bet is to go to the 160 amp, which I have a new 160 amp ESC as well. So even if I have a problem with this one, which I'm not sure if I will or not, I do have a backup. So I'm probably going to go the 160 amp. That's going to leave me with a motor issue, which I'll have to switch over to the 1250, which I have a new motor, and that'll give me the wires that'll connect into that. So that means I'm changing out all the electronics on this, because the 2050 kV, which I have another new Spectrum, you can see how short the wires are. So I think my best bet for this setup is to go ahead and put in the 1250, which means we're going to gear it back up to the 25 tooth, and I think I'm going to go that route. So I think the first thing we should get to doing is probably get this motor out of here. And this is what sucks about all this. I'm going to go ahead and remove the battery pack, because I still only plan on running this thing on 6S. I guess I can go up to 8S if I want. But blowing through the tires like I already am, I just don't think going up to 8S is worth it for me. But I don't want the ESC failing constantly. So I think this is a good move, a good step up, is to go to the 160 amp if you have it. If not, buy a Castle system. Problem with the Castle systems is they're very expensive, and the they don't hold the weight either. Say a 1515 2200 kV doesn't cover the weight of this ESC. I've got a couple of the motors that I've already burned out because they are the 160 amp ESCs. So, or the 150 amp ESCs, I mean. Same thing with the Castles. The Castles just don't hold the weight for what I'm looking for. This RC is not light, especially with putting the aluminum skid plates and everything on it. God, where is the wrench for this? So we're going to go ahead and bust this whole RC down electronic wise, and we're going to have to basically redo this whole setup, which I'm not too keen on doing. It's just not something I wanted to do. I wanted to keep this thing pretty much stock. I've kept it stock for 2 years because it's my street basher. It's what I like to run at lunchtime when I'm working. I'll grab this. I know I can have fun with it. That's what I've always used it for. And it just sucks. So first thing we're going to do, go ahead and take the motor out. Going to go ahead and pop this bracket off. Actually, I think you can just slide it. I don't reuse those clips because we're going to have to widen this mount. So now we're going to have to get this off. So I'm going to get the first thing I'm going to get off is this gear. And definitely make sure you have a good wrench for this. We're going to get that gear off. Next thing we're going to get off is this motor mount. So we got that off. We're going to get our fan setup off like this. I will be spreading this out to fit it on the new setup. And there's our motor. I'm going to grab the new motor. You can see the size difference on this thing, which really sucks because this thing is huge. Should fit in there. So yes, the mount is going to flip over for the 1250 kV. This is what I did to my Mojave. Is a takeoff system. So I know the system works. So there we go. So once we do that, I'm going to have to put the 25 tooth. Because this is a 1250. We're going to need a lot more revolutions. So here's my 25 tooth. We're going to spin this motor around. I'm going to go back to the 25 tooth on this one. Tighten that down. I might have to trim the back of this, which I think I am. I'm going to have to Dremel because the motor hits here in the corner. It's not that necessary. So back in here, we got to eliminate this nut. And I leave the screw in it because that way the screw is now cut down. There we go. Make sure our gear mesh is good. So there we go. Next thing we got to do is modify our fan setup. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off the fans so that I can get the heat sink on there. Hopefully I don't have to make a part 2 to this. I might have to. I'm probably going to get this motor mounted, and then there'll be a part 2. So the next thing we're going to do is pop this on here. Like that. Make sure that you can face it up. We're not going to put the cross bracket on it because it's not going to fit with the big can motor. Everybody asks me what heatsink to run with the Game Changer fans. I use the factory heatsink. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and get our screws put back in now.